Hey, welcome back to another video. Today I want to talk about Bitcoin and the market cycle ROI. So this chart is pretty interesting in showing the history of Bitcoin's price relative to, let's say, the peak price from the bottom. Or from the start of the cycle rather. So if you take a look at this chart, you can essentially see that each cycle we have sort of these bear markets, and then we get these mania phases. So you can sort of compare the cycles. I think this chart's pretty interesting because it outlines the idea of diminishing returns pretty easily, in my opinion, and also somewhat of a lengthening cycle theory, but that's yet to be pretty much seen since even 2017 was longer than 2017. But essentially, you can see these diminishing returns from each cycle. From the 2009 to 2011 cycle, we had an ROI of approximately 600x, and that's not insanely accurate because when you go back to the price, there's more price data on TradingView here, but it's basically pretty accurate. So you can see these diminishing returns play out. So this cycle, the next cycle, 2013, we hit a 523x. The next cycle in 2017, 106x. 2021 only a 19x, and the current cycle, if you look at it, is only 6.9x from the cycle bottom in the bear market, which was a $15,549 price. So what does this tell us? It tells us that we obviously see diminishing returns in Bitcoin's price. What could this mean for the current cycle if we just overlay, let's say, the 2017, 2021 and the current cycle? You can sort of see that the beginning of the year, Bitcoin was pretty much tracking this 2017 cycle, but then it sort of differentiated from it a little bit in in the middle of the year, in the beginning of the year, and then it sort of followed it again. And then you can see each cycle is pretty much different, but all of them they have their similarities and they have their differences. But you can essentially see that when Bitcoin was in the last cycle in 2021, when Bitcoin was already at a 5, I don't know, at a 17x, the current cycle was only at a 6x. Similarly, if you look at the $83,000 low that we had in September, or sorry, in April, you can see that we were only at a 5x compared to the 2021 cycle, which we were at a 15x. So if we take into consideration diminishing returns, I would say the most ROI that we would probably be able to see this cycle is likely a 10x. And given the fact that we're already at the end of the year pretty much, we only have 7 months left till the end of the year, I would say that if Bitcoin were to go up, which it has, I would say, like I talked about in my previous video, I would say we really need to get a weekly close above this point in which we broke down from in February. So as you can see, we had this $95,000 candle, and then we went all the way down to 80,000. We had the death cross, which was around 79k, and then we had this low, which was on 74k. And if you take a look at the ROI, or the Bitcoin risk level, you can see that at that period we were actually at a risk level of 0.2. So if I just go down here, 0.231, and we were at a 77k right there. And I don't have the low price, but you can see we were pretty low there. And so Bitcoin popped above naturally. I would say that if we can get a close above this level around 94k on the weekly time frame, then we can start to see the cycle pretty much follow the rest of these cycles, in which we would continue up and continue up for longer. So in my previous video, I actually stated that we were sort of in these parallel channels, and I like to think that we're doing that right now, and we're breaking out of this one right now. So as you can see, we were sort of in these lower high structures, and Bitcoin tends to break out of them, and then naturally reach new highs. So why do I want to get a close above this level right here? Well, if you look in 2019, you can actually see we sort of had this same thing play out where we had this big drawdown from where we had this when we had the bear market in 2018, and we had this mid-cycle top in 2019. The point in which we broke down from around 10K, and then we couldn't really get a close above that level in two periods, one in 2019 October and one in February in 2020. And then that naturally ended up being a recession, which I'm not saying has to happen again. I'm just saying that if we can't get a close above this level, which also, by the way, corresponds to around the same risk level, 0.7, that we hit in at 106. If you sort of look at the risk level at this level, you can see that we're at 0.75 risk at 12,000. We're also at 0.77075 risk at 106K. I would say similarly, if you can't get a close above that level, like we didn't get one back here, then I would say naturally we'd probably have to spend a little bit more time down in this level until we finally break out of this range here. So I would say if it does repeat what it did in these periods where it gets these lower high structures, then I could say naturally would break out from there. Another thing that I found interesting actually was if you sort of overlay the Bitcoin risk, the historical risk levels, this is a little bit weird to do, but essentially if you overlay the risk level and you sort of draw these trend lines, you can sort of see whenever we broke below these trend lines, that's when Bitcoin experienced these bear market lows. You can see that this happened in 2019, 2013, 2011. Same thing happened in 2021. I would say that if we can hold these risk levels, which will be on the website, by the way, I'm still working on getting that live, chartinspect.com. It'll be up probably pretty soon. Then I would say that we can essentially hold these levels, and I can think that we would probably get to above 110K this cycle. And some people think that we're going to top at 110K. I think that if monetary policy and if the Fed can cut rates and if inflation can come down and unemployment stays low, then I think that we can essentially hit above this range here and go above to maybe 120K, which is my base target right now. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe, and check out the link to the Telegram in the description below. We'll be uploading this website to the internet pretty soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.